All right, so welcome to another video. Today, I'm Jordan. If you haven't seen the channel before, this is probably a little bit different content than the Corvette. So I'm actually going to be doing some work on my brother's 987.1. So he's looking to be able to get the car a little bit more ready to be able to be on track for more than just a lap or so. So we're going to be doing an oil change, new brake pads, and new brake fluid to be able to hold up to the temps a little bit better. So that being said, let's go ahead and get the car up on the lift, get the car warmed up on the lift, and go ahead and start the oil change, and then go ahead and jump into the actual brakes side of things.
All right, so for those that have not done anything on a Cayman before, or 987.1, I assume other generations, so this is going to be your lifting puck, lifting location. And then we got the other one up here in the front. So that's where we're going to be putting the quick jacks, or if you have a floor jack, that's where you're going to be wanting to go to. So here in the front, we've got this little access panel, and that's going to be our brake reservoir. And then in the trunk of the car, we have engine oil.
All right, so car's in the air. There is some condensation underneath the car from the AC when my brother drove it over here. But go ahead and look the car over on the bottom, see if we see anything that we need to further investigate. And then we'll go ahead and get the oil pan out for prepping the oil change.
All right, so at some point, I think he's gonna need to get a new drain plug, just because it looks like that one's gotten a bit worn out. There's some small leak from somewhere up above the transmission. So I don't think that's really too much of a concern, but definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, so while underneath the car, 10 millimeter Allen or hex, and make sure you get it full all the way up before starting to break it loose. All right, so I'm not sure how you're supposed to do this and not get oil on your hands, but let's give it a shot. Nope. All right, so most of our oil is drained, so whatever we have left is just going to be here in the oil filter housing. So go ahead, get this again seated all the way up, and you're going to break it loose. You don't have to use this housing adapter, but so go ahead and get this broken loose and let's get this off. It's going to be a two-hand job because I'm trying not to get stuff oily. All right, so there's the filter housing right there, and there's the cartridge that's inside it. So once you break it loose, we get the housing off, and then your cartridge is still going to be kind of pressed up around that boss. So just reach up, pull it down, definitely wear gloves or prepare to have oily hands. All right, so now we've got the housing here on the workbench, got the outside mostly wiped down, and we're going to rotate. There we go. So when you start looking at yours in real life, you'll see that there's a break in the threads right here. So that's a spot for you to grab in with a pick or a small screwdriver. And you're basically just going to remove this O-ring seal. And hopefully you don't put it on something that's not supposed to have oil, but that comes with the territory. And I'm just going to check if there's any debris on the O-ring groove, and then we'll go ahead and get the new one prepped. All right, so we got that wiped down. We've got our new filter and our new O-ring. So our new O-ring is going to go back in that same slot recess. We're not going to go all the way against the flange. We're going to go here where it's meant to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of fresh oil on this, and go ahead and put that on, and then we'll go ahead and get ready to throw the filter itself back on the car. All right, so back under the car, and get ready to throw stuff together. Still have a little bit of a drip coming from the drain plug, not a big deal. Our cartridge is gonna go right up here. And make sure you press it until you feel it seat. And then grab our housing. And let's go ahead and spin her home. And like all things German engineering, this housing, as well as everything else, does need to be torqued to a specific spec. So here on the housing, it shows 25 Newton meters. All right, so we've got a fresh crush washer on our drain plug. Nothing on the magnet. Let's go ahead and throw it back in. All right, so our drain plug's back in, our filter's back on. Now we're just gonna go ahead and torque everything to spec, which is 25 Newton meters on the housing and 50 Newton meters on the drain plug. And yes, the torque spec is required. All right, so now we're on to our last step. We're going to put the oil in. So again, if you're not familiar with the Caymans, they have no actual dipstick back here. So we're gonna go to about 7 quarts-ish, and then we're gonna see where we're at and add as needed. And again, we're just using Motul 8100. Not sure the funnel's the right play, especially because this has a little bit of a funnel built on, but try not to make a mess of my brother's car. All right, so now that we've got the oil done, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the brakes. So car's still in the air, and now just pull the tires off, and I'm gonna go ahead and take a peek at what we got. All right, so on the Caymans, or probably a lot of other Porsches as well, we have this retaining pin, and there's gonna be a cotter pin right back there. So that cotter pin's gonna come out. This pin is gonna get driven out the back. And this spring, as soon as you do that, will want to pop out. So make sure you have your hand over it and, while you're doing that. And then you can actually grab hold of pad 1, pad 2, and they'll be able to start coming out. So that's all the spring move. That spring's definitely tighter. All right, so we got all of the springs, retainers, and brake wear sensors off. A lot of the pads are pretty well stuck onto the caliper, so gonna do things a little bit out of order, and I'm gonna go ahead and take some of the brake fluid out so I can push back those pistons on the calipers. I'm gonna throw the new pads in, and then I'm just gonna do the full fluid flush from there. That way it's gonna give me a little bit of extra play to be able to get those pads in and out nice and easy. So before I do that though, I'm gonna drain some of the fluid out of the reservoir just to help that fluid less it have to bleed down. And then I can also have more space to actually push those pistons back and not overfill the reservoir. So this is where the reservoir is right now. It is great condition, but it is also very full. So we're gonna bleed some of that out, and then we'll go ahead and be able to crack each of the pistons. All right, so one thing that I don't really know is what the heck these guys are. So there's 4 of them per front wheel. I have no idea what they're there for. I mean, I guess ultimately it doesn't really matter because these new pads don't have that provision. But I still want to know what it is, so I'm gonna go ahead and do some Googling and try to figure it out, and then we'll get back into it. Let's go ahead and take this guy out. Cool. So there's that pad, and then we still have our factory brake shims in there, but we don't need those where we're going. All right, so I got that pad freed up. And I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this guy. All right, so I've already got the one new one in, but the method for it is basically remove the old pad, set it off to the side, grab your new pad. The new pad will go on in. There we go. Got it. And then you're gonna make sure that's actually seated down in line with this. And we'll go ahead and get to the next step.
All right, so something, again, no project can go on at this house without unexpected things happening. So the new pads, the Federo 2500 series, they don't have the provision, the hole in the pad material that would allow you to actually run the factory brake wear sensors. So that small hole, that hole is not present on the new pads. I mean, it makes perfect sense of why they're not there. Like, these pads are more dedicated to track use, and people that go to the track and putting in track pads probably gonna be a little bit more diligent in actually looking at what their cars are doing to the brake pads. So spoke with my brother. He's fine with removing them, not a big deal. One thing to do to remove it is we basically have to take the harness off and clip the wires, and then wire 1 goes to wire 2. So basically it's just a closed loop system. So when the brake pad material would fade all the way away, you'd wear that wire down, and then that wire would be broken, and that would send the signal to the dash saying, hey, replace brake pads. So we're just going to go ahead and clip the wire and connect it and be done.
All right, so we've got this small clip down here. Get a small flat blade screwdriver, gently pry that off, not damaging or putting stress on the brake hard line. And then this is gonna come all the way around to right here. We're gonna open this clip up, take this plug out, and once that plug is out, we can go ahead and clip that and put it back in. The back of this is just on a small little clip back there. We're just gonna pull it straight out of the clip, and then this plug is gonna come out. Boom. All right, switch hands. And here we are. All right, so all we really need to do is we just need to connect these two wires together. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it back here for right now. One in a return. And then all we need to do is strip these back just a little bit and put them together. All right, so I'm not sure if I can get both of them in the smaller 22 to 16 gauge. So we'll go ahead and get it stripped and then see what we can do. Got it. All right, so after I put the connector on and crimped it down and heat shrunk over top, I'm gonna take a little bit extra heat shrink, and I'm just gonna shrink this down on top just as an extra level of security. All right. Our little harness has been modified. Plug it back in, clips down. And now we can go ahead and put our spring, pin, and cotter pin back in. So let's go ahead and get to that. All right, so when putting your pin back in, just keep in mind where that cotter pin hole is facing. You're gonna want it to face directly out of the of the caliper. And yeah, this is gonna be a two-hand job, so we'll come back in once both of these are, well, once the cotter pin is back in for the spring. All right, so last step, cotter pin. Boom. Brake's done. So I'm gonna go ahead and go around and do that to the remaining 3 wheels. And then it'll be time to flush all the fluid out and be done with this project. All right, so I realized I kind of stopped filming the stuff. I just got tired. This is supposed to be like a 2-hour job based on what it takes me to do the Corvette. So it took a lot longer than I wanted, and that made me stop filming some stuff. Anyways, brakes are in, tires are on, lugs are torqued. Brake fluid is topped off, all with fresh fluid. And we're waiting for the car's computer timer thing to cycle through its 30-minute window, and then it'll be able to tell us where we need to add oil or if we need to add oil. And then here's the Cayman, ready for its next adventure, which hopefully is back on track with me.